my name is Kristen Wiley, and I'm, I guess, director here. But I mean, it sounds fancy, but there's not that many of us to be in charge of, so I'm in charge of the few people that we have. And basically I do everything here. The only thing I don't do is the actual venom extractions from the snakes. I do extract from lizards and some of the rear fang snakes on occasion I've done. But I also do things like paying bills and hiring people and keeping up with our permits and paperwork stuff that we have to do. So I spend, unfortunately, a lot of time doing that sort of thing. And then I also just take care of snakes, and I do education programs and stuff too. So I kind of do all of the jobs that are here.
It's not all glory, snake handling, and venom flying around everywhere, is it? It's paperwork and husbandry and
I read some little blog or something one time about entrepreneurs, and it was basically saying that you're going to spend a huge amount of time doing things that don't seem like they're important, like answering silly emails and you know, answering the phone and things like that. And that's really true. You spend a ton of time doing that stuff, but it's important. At the moment it might not seem important, but it's part of portraying yourself to the outside world. So yeah, I do all those things.
I know when I was about 18 years old, I was a house painter for a while. I was on a crew. I was green. I was a rookie. Didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And I learned within the first year that you spend about 10% of your actual time painting, and the rest of it is prep work.
Yeah,
and getting things ready to paint. So it's not like you're just sitting here handling the snakes every day or whatever. There's always something going on.
Right. Yeah, that's really true. And really, even if all you are doing is like cleaning the enclosures, you know, if I'm gonna clean, you know, this puff adder's cage completely out, it might take me 5 minutes to clean the cage, and the snake handling amount of that is gonna be like 10 seconds maybe, you know, because all I'm gonna do is put them in a can and then do all the work cleaning the cage, and then I'm gonna put them back in from the can, and that's it. So there's not that much actual hands-on with them, really.
So what got you into the business? What got you into this lifestyle?
I came here actually as an intern about 20 years ago and never left. So
obviously something stuck, so
yeah,
right.
I like having a variety of things to do. I would get bored if I had the exact same thing to do every single day. So I enjoy doing different things. And I mean, I like snakes, obviously. I don't think you could be here if you didn't like them. But
a rough job if not.
I do enjoy being around them and stuff, so that helps too.
Sounds like a pretty good answer to me. So, so what else we got here? Sorry, I had to look at some notes here. You know, a professional actually memorizes all this ahead of time, or has a crew memorize it for them, but I am not that person. So what did you do before coming here?
I was in college.
In college?
Yeah.
What did you study in college?
I have a biology degree, and then I actually ended up getting my master's while I was down here. So I have a master's in ecology, basically. And I did a little bit of reptile stuff before I came down here. I did an internship with the Cleveland Zoo with aquatic turtles while I was in college. And I had one of my mentors was a guy named Marty Rosenberg who taught at Case Western where I went to undergrad. And he had a bunch of animals in his office that he would let me come and, you know, I thought I was helping. I was probably just being annoying and in the way, but he let me hang out. And so that's kind of how I got started, was really through him. And I was a member of NOAA, the Northern Ohio Association of Herpetologists, for a long time while I was in school. So that's kind of what got me interested in snakes to begin with.
I see. And then you immersed yourself completely, I see.
Yeah, pretty much.
Any regrets, or you still love what you do?
No, I don't regret anything. I think I'm a pretty decisive person in general. So, you know, for me, I'm going to weigh the pros and cons of something before I make a decision. And then once you've made a decision, like you own it, you know, you made that decision. So if there's things I don't like, then I try to alter what we're doing so that they work better. That's one nice thing about being in charge, I guess, is if something doesn't work, I'm like, well, this sucks, so we shouldn't do it this way.
This rule stinks, so let's make a new rule, shall we?
Yeah, so, pretty much.
It's good to be the king, they say, in this case, queen. So, see, I asked a lot of this to Jim, so have you ever received a bite from any species?
I have. I've had 2 bites. Both were dumb mistakes, as I think probably most bites are. Both were from Western Diamondbacks. I work with those guys a lot, so I guess my risk factor is higher with them. The first one, I was trying to give the snake a shot. I just basically I wasn't even close to doing that. I just failed to get out of the way properly, and it got me with one fang in the leg. And then the other one was probably even more stupid. I was checking some young snakes to see if they had eaten their food, and we had them in shoe boxes. And I checked the snake in question, and then I went to just like move the shoe box over, and I lifted only the lid and not the entire box. And the snake was already scared because I had just looked at it to see if it ate its food. So, yeah, I don't recommend it. It's not a fun experience, and you mostly feel like you're a complete idiot for messing up like that.
But I would hazard to guess, and I don't have any numbers to back this up, but I would hazard to guess that a majority of bites like that in captivity happen because of that simple mistake.
Oh, they are, absolutely.
You know, not paying attention to the lid, maybe your finger strays a little too close, or, you know,
a lot of it is...
falls out of the tube onto your foot actually, and you get nailed with it or something.
Yeah,
you know, but
I think that's true. There's definitely a couple of things that are at play. One is, you know, there's a lot of studies on both aviation, and I know you're going to go see Carl, and he'll talk to you about this, so be sure to ask him.
You ready, Carl?
I don't want to steal his thunder. But also in medicine, there's been studies on how mistakes are made. And you'll hear horror stories of people who get like the wrong leg amputated and stuff like that, and you're like, how on earth could that possibly happen? Well, part of that is the nature of the human brain. And things that you become very used to or are routine, your brain automates those for you. So it frees up processing power to deal with the things that are different. Well, if your routine is doing something that's dangerous or very important, like medicine, flying an airplane, working with venomous snakes, all of those sorts of things, heavy machinery also would fall into this category, then there's a real risk of you automating things that actually need your present attention. And so it's easy to allow mistakes to happen in that instance if you're not guarding against that sort of thing. And it's impossible to be perfect. Everyone screws up, everybody makes mistakes. And so, you know, unfortunately, you know, Jim says, you know, you can't use an eraser on our mistakes, and that's true, or you can't hit backspace, you know.
There's no room for error, that's for sure.
Right, right. And it also, I think, is partially because the snakes are rarely ever trying to bite us. If they were, we'd probably be bitten all the time, you know, because it would be much more difficult to deal with them. But since they're not, it's also easy to become complacent. So you really do have to guard against assuming that the snake isn't going to do anything, because you have no idea. You know, it's like we were talking about that crate. I've never seen that crate move very much during the daytime, but that one day he did. So, you know, you cannot predict how the animal is going to behave, and if somebody's telling you they know how the snake is going to behave, they're full of it. But they don't. I know Jim and I talk about the 1% behaviors. That's what we just refer to them that way. I have no idea what the actual percentage is, but we call them the 1% behaviors, and that's basically the thing that 1 in 100 snakes will do. Well, if you have 2 snakes, you might see that behavior once. We have 1,000 snakes, we see those behaviors all the time. And then we see someone in a video or on TV or whatever doing something, and we're like, that person has no idea what that animal is capable of because they've never seen it before. So that's another thing, is you really do have to be aware. You can't know what the snake is going to do, but you should know what it can do. You know? Yeah,
general species classifications, you know, knowing that like pit vipers can strike, what, 1/3 of their body length at any given. So at least you have some general rules to go around, and you kind of build upon that. But never, like you said, get complacent. Maybe he can strike 2/3 of his body, and you don't know that, or something. Or,
you know, they sometimes surprise you and do things that you don't expect, for sure.
This Captain Viper hasn't moved a muscle in 2 weeks, but he can just shoot like lightning on that. So yeah, so never be complacent, especially in a job like this. Jim, of course, didn't have one. Do you have a favorite snake species to work with? Or have affinity for?
I thought it was funny, though, that you realize that most people don't.
They don't. At least the distractors I've talked to.
I think I like animals, kind of period, you know? And there are animals I personally would not want to work with, but I still respect and appreciate them for what they are. Like primates, I have no interest in ever working with them. But as far as the snakes go, there are certain individual snakes that I like just because they have some little quirk that I find cute or endearing in some way or whatever. Like that black mamba he's always smooshing his face on things. He's doing it on the glass right now, but he also does it on his log and his water bowl and stuff, and it's just kind of funny, you know? So sometimes if they have an individual quirk like that, then I'll be like, oh, I like this one, but I kind of like all of them.
There's so many to choose from too. You kind of get overload after a while. You know?
Well, that's true, and I mean,
it might shift from one week to the next. You never know.
Yeah, and you learn something new about them or whatever, and you're like, oh, that's really cool. I like that. So yeah, I kind of like everything.
All right. So what else we got here? Do you have any species you don't like working with?
Well, I can't really work very much with spitting cobras now. I'm really pretty allergic to them. And so,
dermally?
Anything. And I've not been bitten by them or anything, but I have worked with freeze-dried venom and just cleaning cages and things. And if any venom gets on me at all, I get hives. And if it's in the air, I'll get like immediate, like crazy running nose, running eyes. It's just, I really just do my best to stay away from them as much as possible now. So, I mean, it's not their fault that that's happened. It's my own fault for not being careful enough with exposure probably early on. But, so I try to stay away from them. I don't like, as far as like just handling snakes, if I had to choose, like I would probably choose cobras last. And I don't like the way that they can be very indecisive. So a lot of cobras will be like, oh, and they just are kind of all over the place. Sometimes it just kind of gets annoying if you're trying to get them to go here, and the snake is like, everywhere but there.
Yeah, we saw some of that earlier.
And it's like, come on, dude, just go right there,
Don't you know where your home is?
Yeah. I mean, and not that other things don't act that way sometimes, but I think, sometimes they're a little bit, not super frustrating or anything, but it's like, oh, come on already,
Be so flighty, just let me do my job and we can get back to not seeing each other anymore.
If you just would calm down, it would be over,
All right, so cobras there. Any problem working with the mambas, anything like that?
Mambas are...
They get a bad rep, I know, so...
They do, and they're very reactive, is my experience. So I think the challenge with things like mambas, at least from my perspective as someone working with them, is that you have to be really slow and calm. And if something sets off that snake and then it reacts, you've got to react to it reacting. So you have to speed up. But then if that situation is past, you can't stay at that elevated thing like this, or you're just going to drive the snake into a frenzy. You might have to catch it or prevent it from going somewhere you don't want it to go or getting you, but then you've got to be instantly calm and cool and slow again. And that's a challenging thing to do if it's brought your heart rate up and gotten you a little excited. To be able to just be like, okay, that's over, and now we're going to pretend that never happened. I think that's a difficult thing to do. It's real easy to be like, oh, that scared me, and so I'm afraid a little bit, and you stay like that. But with them, if you're shaky or twitchy, they're going to notice that right away. So, and I also think some of the really long snakes can be a little bit of a challenge, just because all they have to do is turn around and they've covered 6 feet of distance,
climbing up the hook at you and everything.
Yeah, they can move very rapidly from one place to another. So that's sometimes a little bit challenging, but I don't know. I don't really mind them so much, and I think, I'm not proud if the snake is having a bad day and it seems like it's maybe not that safe. I just close the cage and come back later. There's no. I mean, the world isn't, the world is not going to end if I don't clean that one turd right now, And so if it's like that and I don't feel safe, I just let it be for a little while. And I don't leave it forever.
No.
But a lot of times if you let the snake calm down, you can come back an hour or two later and it's fine.
Discretion is the better part of valor, so.
Yeah, I think, sometimes because they're dangerous animals, I think people assume that you've got to have some sort of like desire to dominate them in order to work with them successfully. And I think that's almost backwards. You've got to be willing to say, well, what the heck, this is beyond me right now. I'm just gonna not do it. I really think animals are good for teaching you humility.
Yeah, and they can teach you in a hurry too if you're not careful.
That's right. Yeah.